Testing. There we go. Hi, everyone. So welcome to Penning the Perfect Atmosphere, creating the riveting worlds and emotions of speculative and fantasy novels. Today, we'll be talking about world building, and we'll join some incredibly amazing authors to discuss craft and the engaging worlds that they share with us. So I'm going to introduce them one by one, and they're going to walk out here WWE style. So please give it up for Olivie Blake, the New York Times best-selling author of speculative fiction for adults, including the Atlas E trilogy. All right, please welcome our next heavy hitter, Alix E. Harrow, the New York Times best-selling author of The 10,000 Doors of January, The Once and Future Witches, Starling House, The Everlasting, and various short fiction. Winner of Hugo and British Fantasy Awards, and many more. And, not least, even in the slightest, our next heavyweight, Alexis Henderson, author of House of Hunger and the Goodreads Choice Awards finalist, The Year of the Witching. When Alexis is not writing, you will find her tending to an assortment of houseplants or nursing a hot cup of tea. All right, and I'm Alexis. I am your moderator. I'm a lit agent at Azantian Literary, and I represent science fiction, fantasy, and horror. So as you can imagine, I am stoked to be here. So I'm going to jump right into questions, and I'm going to start with my favorite. Of the worlds we've already seen from you, which was your favorite to write?
I mean, all right. Okay. All right. This is insane, by the way. Thank you all for coming, but this is absurd.
I feel like probably Taylor Swift. Like, this is what it is.
I mean, she wishes. I think. And thank you so much for moderating. I think my favorite world was, it's always more fun when it's a short work because it doesn't have to hold up in as many different circumstances.
Right.
So I really liked doing my fairy tale retelling worlds because they're like a pastiche of other familiar retellings. So it was kind of, rather than building my own, I was referring back to a layered series of ones that have informed me. And that's kind of where I'm most comfortable.
My favorite world, I think, was an Academy for Liars. I was homeschooled, so I have this thing where I really romanticize going to school. Like, when I was younger, I used to pretend I had a locker in my closet. And so I think it was just kind of fun to escape into this, like, school setting for a while. Usually the worlds I write, I don't want to live in them, but this one I was like, I could do it. So, yeah.
It is, to be clear, like a very bad school. Like,
it's
a terrible place.
It's a horrible school, but have you seen the public schools in the South? Like, I'm kidding, sorry. No, sorry, I'm kidding.
I think it's fair to have a toxic relationship with school, though. Like, that is dark academia, yes. It's like a, oh, we just keep coming back. They treat us so badly. Yeah. I only had a locker for my piccolo, but...
I feel like school is like the first or second place you develop a toxic relationship.
Yes, yeah. And you're like, do I want more? Do I want more? Oh my God, I actually love this punishment. They keep telling me I'm a good girl.
Right? Such a good girl, I got an A.
I would like to point out that we then pursued a career in which we are graded.
Yeah.
We get gold stars.
True or not.
Do good. God. And so I feel like that toxic relationship is continuing.
It's ongoing. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, wait. All of this is me stalling because I don't know if I can build worlds.
You can? Oh my gosh.
I like to think of my world building as a little bit more sci-fi in that I like take something and I turn the dial up and I watch the consequences rather than like enforcing rules and in an organized way with like a map, you know? I don't know where anything is in my world unless it actually exists. But I mean, I guess the Atlas world was pretty built. I did it over 3 books, which is the only time I've done that. So we'll call it that.
Fair enough. Which of those were your most challenging worlds, and why?
I mean, I'll go first every time, if this is how it's going to be.
Yes.
No, far and away, The Everlasting, which was my most recent book, was the hardest.
I love that book.
Oh, they know. They know.
Everyone stop. Just because I think that I had mostly written in real world or like adjacent to the real world or alternative history, and then fully going into secondary world fantasy, I thought at the outset would be like easier because you get to make up everything you want. But guess what? You get to make up everything you want. And that turned out to be a curse. And so like having to manage the scope of like roughly 1,000 years in a fictional kingdom while maintaining kind of the references that I wanted to kind of Arthuriana without copying directly from Arthuriana was like, it was hard. And then I did it where it was like a cyclical repeating story in that same world. And I found it exhausting and I'll never do it again.
Okay, so this is a book that has not been announced, and we haven't actually officially decided on the title. I want the title to be Euphoria! Exclamation point. It's a load-bearing exclamation point, okay? It tells you everything you need to know. But if I lose that fight and a book comes out and it's called something else, like Cult Baby versus the Future, this is that book, and I have lost, okay? So this book, it's someone on my editorial team accidentally said The Hunger Games by Susanna Clarke, and I was like, that's hilarious. I was like, I'm gonna write that? But I am neither Suzanne Collins nor Susanna Clarke, so it's actually a book by Olivie Blake. Many things implied there. So what I wanted to do was build this dystopian world where it's kind of, let's call it The Hunger Games. It's not what it's called in the book. I'm pretty sure I couldn't legally do that. But everyone who's involved in it is like not, they don't really care about the Hunger Games. The Hunger Games are like happening like elsewhere. It's more about the archivist who can't log into his account. But anyway, I wanted this to be set in the far future so that I could do really weird stuff to the climate. So like London is a series of makeshift bogs. Like the subway system is built on like waste. I used a lot of medieval history in order to do this. And, part of California has dropped into the ocean. But then things in the real world were getting so dystopian so fast that I had to accelerate the timeline by a lot, by like so much. But I had already put in all this effort to doing the climate changed world that I was like, let's just accept this as fact, that within 20 years, London is bogs. So that was difficult, but hopefully everyone's on board.
I love it. That sounds amazing. For me, I think my most challenging world to build was the world of my first book, The Year of the Witching. It's set in a thank you. Gosh. It's set in like a theocratic world where it's ruled by this crazy prophet, and he's like a huge jerk, and his world sucks. Like it's a terrible place, and I think it was really emotionally demanding to be writing in that space, especially like with the political climate and everything. I was kind of over it by the time I finished the draft. So yeah, that was a hard one. That was a tough one.
We also are over the political climate.
I think we all are.
I think we're kind of over it.
Yeah, I think we're over it.
Okay, so now that I've had a couple warm-up questions your way, I want to get into the actual penning the atmosphere part of this. So whether you want to use the same books, or maybe since we haven't read that one, maybe not that book.
Sorry, the book that maybe no one knows about, or
the one that we don't know
doesn't have a
the title
title
yet. Yeah.
Okay. Not that. Okay.
Yeah. Let's try one that people have read. But what is the vibe or the atmosphere that you're kind of aiming to give the reader in book of your choice that people have read? And what were the elements that you focused on to create that vibe? And why did you choose those elements? I can volunteer a tribute if we're Hunger Games.
I'll talk about Girl Dinner. That's a book that's been released. So Girl Dinner was interesting for world building because I wanted it to feel very personal, that like everyone would kind of fill in the blanks with their own, whatever they perceive as like an academic institution that like they're familiar with. So at one point my editor was like, can we do something to indicate time passing, like the weather gets colder? And I was like, no, some people don't live that kind of life. Some people go to the University of Arizona, okay? And like we're not going to take this away from them. But what I did want to do, so Girl Dinner is a satire about a cannibal sorority. And so, yes, and I was very interested in the idea of playing with femininity culture. It was, obviously it's called Girl Dinner because of the meme. I thought the meme was very funny, and I was also like, this is speaking to me. I was just telling someone yesterday that what I wanted for dinner was a Caesar salad and some French fries. So like Girl Dinner spoke to me, and I was like, but I'm also a little bit worried about girl math, girl lie down, girl boss. I was a little bit, I was worried in 2023, 2024, like, are we obsessed with girlhood? Are we creating this mythology of a universal girlhood that doesn't exist? And if we were to accept a universal girlhood, then that would weaken the necessity of intersectional femininity, right? Like, what's happening to feminism if we weaponize femininity culture? But also, what if it got violent? So it was really fun to like lean into the girly stuff, to give the book the vibe of Olivia Rodrigo running through Versailles in bloomers. Which I love. I listened to this song like 16 times this morning while I frolicked in my little dress through New York. And then having that turn.
But I feel like that turn works so well because hyperfem culture is, in many ways, that does have a violence to it.
Yes.
It is about control, and it is
Yes.
about like minimizing yourself and holding
Sure,
yourself
yeah.
to like insane standards and holding others to those same standards.
Yes.
It doesn't, when that happens in that book, it doesn't feel so much like a turn as like I knew it.
Yes, and the thing that I love is like the whole femininity culture is communal, right? When you're like, oh my God, I feel so fat. Someone else has to be like, oh, but at least you don't have, we feed off of it. Haha, feed. So there's so many puns to be made with Girl Dinner. For that reason alone, I had to write it. But
The atmosphere is mostly puns. But
Yes.
actually, no, I do think that that's, I'm not going to talk about my book. I'm
I know, I was like, what are you doing?
I'm thinking, as I often am, about Hadestown.
Wait, can I tell everyone my tragedy? I was supposed to see Hadestown yesterday with Alex, and my plane circled New York for an hour and then
What?
flew to Detroit.
No!
And I missed Hadestown.
Oh my God.
This is
Continue.
true. And then met us at the doors after the show with 2 small Lego sets for my children. So they think that New York is like a place
Where people just
hand out Lego sets.
Correct.
But anyway, I think one of the most fascinating and successful things about why Hadestown works is its world building, and in the creation of a vibe and an aesthetic through shorthand, which I think is what I use a lot in my books. In that, like, as soon as you use certain phrases or write certain cadence sentences or have a certain detail, the reader begins the work of building that world for themselves instantly. If there is, a petticoat, you're pretty sure you're in what genre. Like, where you're headed. Yeah. And I think Hadestown does that with these, like, the aesthetics of labor and of class solidarity and of sort of 1920s American labor movements, paired with these words that tell you the story instantly. If you hear the word Persephone, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the most effective ways to world build in fiction as well, because you can get so much done with so little.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I feel like my job as an author is to give just enough, and usually my just enough is just like something I'm fixated on. So for my second book, House of Hunger, I was really obsessed with food. Like, my food Pinterest board was insane. I'm talking like thousands of images of like gothic food, and it was bloody and gross, and that was my in. But I knew that if I just gave you just enough, like, imagination sort of fills in the rest. So yeah.
This is the perfect segue, not to the next question I had planned, but, and I will preface this, since I did say for the last one, let's choose a book that we've already read. You can continue to choose Hadestown if you would like. Okay?
Okay, but then I won't know because my plane stopped in Detroit.
But to be fair, so speaking of what you said there, Alexis, about, you want to give them just enough. How do you know? How do you know when you've given them enough and not too much or not too little?
You don't, right? Goodreads will tell you.
Exactly. That's when you really figure it out. I mean, we are all lucky enough to have like editors and people who can like read our work. Before that, I had critique partners, I had friends, I had my partner, I had my mom, my dad. Like, I would, have them kind of look at things and be like, is this working? And luckily my mom, she was like, no, it's not, like, it's not working. And she would kind of just tell me. I think that's like the best thing is when people are kind of honest if it's not working and then you have time to fix it. Goodreads does not allow for that though, unfortunately.
Harsh moms might be a little bit of a theme. This might be the secret answer in terms of like how you develop the craft of writing. But other than that, I think, who did I just see saying this? I think Max Gladstone recently was talking about the kind of old writing advice that every sentence should be doing a minimum of 2 things. And so I feel like early on in my drafting, sometimes world building or like atmosphere is gonna take up all these sentences on their own. And those usually get like melded with other sentences. They have to be doing simultaneous work. And once a scene can flow where each sentence is giving you both like atmosphere and character, or like it's doing both things at once, then I feel like you've hit the right balance because you're seeing kind of the whole scene at once.
I think that also it really depends on the effect that you're trying to achieve. There's no such thing as perfect world building or a perfect amount. But so what I tell people, and they're like, how do I know if I'm done? How do I know if the world is built? What books do you like that are most, like what that you're creating is similar to other things that you like, and what have they done? And it's that really reading like a writer kind of thing that's like, what is this giving me that is doing this thing very well? So Dreamland, which is my book that's coming out in August, is a contemporary Gothic. And so, yeah. Thank you. Thanks, guys. But so you know, it's not like my other books because the goal was to achieve a feeling. I was really trying to access the sensation of sublime. And so there are many Gothic works that do that very well. But it's not, you know, it's not fantasy pacing. It's not horror. It's you know, it's a lot of things sort of like melded together to create this feeling of dread and potential rot.
Okay, but I'm gonna jump back, sorry. But you can do that, you do that so effectively on the sentence level.
Stop complimenting me.
Absolutely
I'm
agree.
so uncomfortable.
No.
I'm gonna leave.
Look into my eyes. I'm gonna hold your hand. Don't. No. And I just think that that's actually so much of the work of world building and of genre building is telling your readers, like sentence by sentence, what kind of story they're reading. When I wrote my Gothic for Starling House, I reread a bunch of like classic Southern Gothics. There's dozens of us. And one of the things I did to procrastinate was make my brother build me a Southern Gothic bot on this site that used to be called Twitter.
I love the Southern Gothic bot.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah.
It was very cute, and it was sort of like, I realized through reading that like there's so many patterns in literally just the way the sentence is structured and certain nouns that are just gonna like evoke that genre instantly, and you can do it in like 140 characters.
I will say that I was like, we have to get Alix to blurb Starling House or no one will take this book seriously. Like if Alix does not sign off on this, yeah, Dreamland. No, what? No, I said we have to get Alix because of Starling House. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Starling House by Susanna Clark. So as we were talking about, you know, trying to evoke that feeling, you said you were going after the feeling of sublime, right? A lot of the work that you do is to manipulate the emotions of the reader, right? Do you have like a particular scene that you read to yourself or you look at, ideally from one of your books, but possibly from Hadestown, where you read this and you're like, damn, I'm gonna make somebody cry. Like, what's your favorite? What's your one that goes, oh, I'm gonna make somebody puke? Like what? Like you read that and you're like, yes, the emotion I want, that's it.
I don't have a good read on that. People are always like, oh, this scene like made me cry so much, and I'm like, oh.
Same.
About
I'll be
that
like listening to
answer.
Soldier Boy while I'm killing off like a major character, like, you know, and this one's like, oh my god, it was so emotional. You must have been so emotional, and I'm like, no, I mean, I was crying, you know, in another scene when the like character left her cat to go on vacation, but like, it's not, you know, it's like, it's just different. Yeah, I think I'm immersed in it when it's happening. I can't really think about the effects too much because then I feel like there are eyes who are watching me while I write, and I kind of freak out. So I tend to kind of like almost not think about how I want people to feel.
Yeah, I think I always refer to this, but I love this one interview by George Saunders where he talks about, he's asked basically like, how do you think of your job as a writer? And his answer was, my job is indistinguishable from that of a man who builds roller coasters, which I love. And that you're spending all of this time designing and doing math and labor, just time, to give a person a single moment of wonder. And so, like, you're engineering, but that labor is not something that you necessarily, you're hoping that the final ride works. I would say, though, that I'm always building to that, like, the final scene. And I have that written or sketched out, like, before I start. So I'm always hoping that, like, the whole emotional payoff is usually in that.
There are definitely times, though, when it's like whenever someone brings me a copy of Alone with You in the Ether, and I know that they're about to be like, oh, this really, really spoke to me. I'm like, oh, I understand, like, the exchange of feelings, the depression that we have both known is clear to me in this moment. I also love when people are like, nah, I didn't really like this book. And I'm like, it must be nice to be mentally healthy.
What is that like in 20 years?
I know, so there are some things that you write, and it's like, oh, I'm crying a little bit, but then it's good to know that. I always like to think of the act of reading as like communion between the author and the reader, and it's just like we get to be together in time for a second, where it was like, this actually really hurt me too.
And that's very beautiful, but I will say on my first event stop for the Everlasting, first crowd, the first question was, do you have a complicated relationship with your mother?
Oh my God.
I feel
And I was like,
obligated to
oh, we
ask
are
the
communicating
chances,
right now.
Yeah. Oops, you saw it. You know who can't see it? My mother.
My mother was in the audience.
Sorry, I feel obligated to ask, was the answer yes? Like,
Is the answer ever no?
Yeah.
Is someone out there like with a simple relationship with your mother?
That's
Give
so
me your
true.
secrets. Give me your mother.
I really like the roller coaster quote, and it is a really great.
You did it. Sorry.
No, you're fine. It's a really great way to get into the next question. Tools. What are the most important tools in your world-building toolkit? How are you building those roller coasters?
Pinterest. I love a Pinterest board. Like, that's probably my first step, is I just dump. Like, I always have a vision board. Pinterest kind of sucks now because there's too much AI art, so I'm kind of trying to, like, scramble to find new resources, but it used to be Pinterest. But also just, like, I think one of my most useful tools is that I can be in a place for 5 minutes and fall in love with it and, like, envision my whole life there. So I think the ability to kind of fall for a setting or a place is so helpful when I'm writing, because it doesn't take me long to really kind of, like, figure out why I'm attached to a certain place and to feel passionate about it. So, yeah.
I think also it's for me about how is the character reacting to the place? Like how does, I really enjoy writing with dissonance, like tonal dissonance. That's like, this is a beautiful, beautiful place and this character is not paying attention to it. Or this character really resents this place. And how does the place become in its way a character or an inciting incident on its own, because it's just like what has this place created. I think about things in systems a lot. My training is in public policy and urban planning, so I think a lot about like communities and social infrastructure. And so I think for me, the details of the world come after that. That's just like, okay, well, what I really want is for a character that's experiencing these things, and then the tactility of the world will come as needed.
Yeah, I think that both of these sound right, but it's very funny to me because you're often writing in communities and systems, and you're a very visual writer, so this is checking out. My answer has got to be Interlibrary Loan. Like, most of what I'm writing is always in conversation with its own genre or with a particular history, and I just feel like I often am falling in love with places and worlds through another author's eyes. Like, I love what they have done, how Tana French has done Ireland, how, and I think I'm always basically copying from the ways that they have made places come alive.
Thank you. So, you mentioned something in your answer, Olivie, that I feel like makes sense to ask now. Do any of you feel like your world building style relies more on like sensory information or facts that the reader is gleaning over time? Is it a mix of both? Do you find there are situations that call for one, not the other? How do you let that play out?
Well, I always say that, like, so I have, like, no methodology, right? Like, I'm a pantser, like, I'm as pantser as you get. I don't know what a book is about until I've already told myself, you know? And so I think, I just totally lost where I was going with that. What's the question? I see, there's no methodology involved. Sensory, yes. Okay, so. Oh, you were serious? No, I was serious, yeah. I had one baby and my brain broke. So, yes. So I think sometimes, I like to say there's like two kinds of, there's more, but there's two basic kinds of author problems. And one of them is like the anxious, fear of failure writer, who is the writer who's like, how do I know when I've planned enough? Or like, how do I know that I'm ready to start? And I'm like, I couldn't be further from this problem, right? And so that's the kind of writer that I'm like, you can benefit from knowing me, because the only thing that matters to me are the sensory details. The only thing that matters to me are what might disturb the reader from the world that I have built for them, which is like, it doesn't smell right. Or like, it does, you know, like I called it tactility before, I'm gonna use it again. The texture of being in this world, something is off about it. And so I think like the only time, the only information I need to have, or the information that I end up pausing to troubleshoot, is like, what does it feel like to pull the trigger on a gun, you know? Or like, what does, the hospital, have I created that like weird stale air situation at the hospital? So I think that's like, that is what comes to me first, or like, honestly, that's all I really care about. Anything beyond that is your problem.
I feel a little called out. But no, all right. But actually we end up in a similar place in that like I wildly overplan, I build this elaborate plot structure, and I think one of the interesting things about writing genre is that you're always asking your reader to believe something that's fundamentally untrue, and they know it and you know it. And so the way that you, I think, sell that big lie is through those sensory details. Like that part has to feel very, very true. And so if you mess that up, you're screwed. Like they won't buy the bigger lie that like women have magic or something like that, unless you have sold them this world where that feels grounded and real, and they know the feeling of, again, like being in a hospital. So like those details and place details matter a lot.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Sometimes I read my own like drafts back and I'm like, this is just like a floating head in a space. Like, what is going on? And I have to go back through and like ground it. Remember, this character has like a body and this is like a world, and add texture. When I first started writing, I would do this almost like checklists where I would check to see like, what can they smell, see, touch, hear, etc. Now I feel like it was a good exercise, but I don't really do that. I just kind of layer in the details through multiple drafts. I'm always trying to make it feel as real as possible, which I think is important when you're writing fantasy, because yeah, it can feel kind of disconnected if you don't really round yourself.
Didn't you say this once, that some people are like, you can tell they're body writers? And like, yeah, there's just like an awareness. You said this about my stuff. You're like, you have an awareness of the body. And I was like, well, I began in erotica.
I think I can divide every writer into embodied or not embodied, in that either it's a floating head and they have to add these things later, or they're mostly experiencing it, and like the physical details matter more than anything else, and the internal emotional arcs matter a lot more.
I will say the body thing was very important for the year of Lady Nights that you do excellently. I love you so much. But I think for me, like I've trained in boxing for like 7 years. And so sometimes I'll read a night book and I'll be like, they're not sore in the correct places, or they shouldn't be sore. Like they've been doing this for years. She shouldn't be sore. She would just be tired. And anyway, that's my comment about the Lady Nights. Sometimes they were sore. And I was like, why?
Okay, how do you hone this craft? Like, with regard to world building, what are, if any, thoughts that you engage with, or exercises that you do, or things that you try to remind yourself to do? How do you hone that craft of world building?
I just kind of want to apologize because you seem like a really organized moderator.
Yeah.
And you've gotten a little bit of a chaotic table here.
If it's any consolation, I'm an ADHD gremlin, and I am just
Congratulations, yes.
Yes, no, and I'm just nervous AF. Like that's.
I get that.
Yeah.
You seem very calm.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I tried
you're
really
very
hard.
composed.
I'm trying real hard. Thank you.
And this is a beautiful color for you.
I'm gonna have a panic attack after this.
You and me
But
both.
please do answer. Yeah.
I forgot the question.
What was the question?
Yeah. No. It's fine. One more time.
Oh,
How do you hone your craft with regard to world building?
I think that's, I mean, since we've talked so much about like sensory details and things, it is a little bit the act of paying attention in your actual lived experiences when you travel and things like that. But as you read, I feel like one of the biggest things to change the more I write is how I read, which is often a lot less escapist and a lot more sort of like detailed craft questions. Like if you looked at my reading journals from before to now, there's a lot more like, ooh, that was a really interesting way to introduce the concept of like a dystopian future. And so like, I think a lot of writing too is the act of like asking people to direct their attention to certain things. You are constantly telling them what to notice. And so like that is a skill you have to develop.
I'm so sorry, I blanked on the question again. I'm sorry. I was
so
thinking about your
grateful.
reading journal. I was like,
If-
I want
yeah.
a tutorial on your reading journal. How I hone my craft.
It's genuinely helping me to feel like more calm that you two are forgetting the question.
No,
Yeah.
this whole time I've just been repeating the question in my head while trying to listen.
which is not an indictment on the questions.
No, the questions are
to be
fantastic.
clear, in case that comes
I
up
promise
later.
you, I take no offense. Like, this is fine. This is fine.
I read books by authors I love. That's really what helps me the most. I read their books. I mean, they're fantastic. So yeah, I think that really helps me. But also just like doing the thing, especially when I feel like I can't do the thing, just sitting down and making myself write and putting in the time. Because I think it teaches me how to show up for myself. And I think, yeah, that's important. But that's kind of a different conversation. But.
I think the first book you write, the first few books you write are hard because you don't know what you're doing, right? And so they're hard from a place of like, I'm trying to do this thing that I've never done. I'm training for a marathon, you know, or whatever. And then the books after that get harder because you do know what you're doing and you're trying to like grow. And so I think with each book, like people are always like, how do you write a book? And I'm like, I don't know. There's technically no proof that I know how. It just happens by sheer force of will. But I think what is difficult and what makes each book different is what am I trying to achieve with this particular book? What story am I telling here that is distinct from the other stories that I've told? And I think also for me now, it's also like, why am I writing this as a book and not a play or a script or whatever? Because a lot of things happen in here. Not all of them good. And so it's like, so why have I chosen this medium? Why have I chosen this setting? And I think it's the way that you think about things. The more you do it, the more granular you can get. And that is the craft, right? Like that's the sweat, is like I can actually think deeply about the choices that I'm making. So that the first book, when, you know, whatever, the first book, people are like, why did you do this? And it's like, I don't know, I thought it would be fun. And then the books after that, it's like, I actually did this for such an important reason, and here it is. And that like experience is the craft, but also the craft is ongoing. Like I wouldn't say the craft is honed. The craft is in a constant state of honing.
No, but seeing it as a series of intentional choices that you're making, and you just become aware of more and more and more choices that you have.
Yes.
Nothing's happening by default, and so that you are intentionally creating these things in order on purpose to achieve a certain effect is why AI is bullshit.
I was just gonna say. Yeah, and that's why anything made by AI is not art, because it's not making those decisions. It has no craft. It can generate, but you can do more than that.
I'm just trying to really hard not to ask AI questions now, so I just need a second. Okay. All right. So let's kind of dive a little bit into what comes next for you all in terms of like your books and your world building. What can you tell us about the worlds that you plan to work on next?
Oh God. Oh yeah, but that book is written. It just doesn't have a title. We're just in disagreement about the title. I want everyone to be like aware whether I win or lose this fight. Okay? You can associate my power in the industry to what this book is called. But no, I'm writing something right now that is It's kind of a riff on a short story that I wrote in January's. It's actually the longest story in January's, but Chaos Theory, which is about a multiverse assassin. Yes, and so I wanted to continue building this like bureaucracy. It exists in a biodome, and it's basically like multiverse colonialism. That like the Alphaverse is so technologically advanced that they need to take resources from other strands of the multiverse. But it's also about a marriage. Like the book is about marriage. I decided that I wanted to write a love story where they start in love and they stay in love and they end in love, because I think it's something that we don't appreciate enough. It's something that like in my stage of life, where I've been married for a long time and you know I'm pretty like settled into my career, hopefully. Oh God. that it's kind of like, oh, what now? You know, like what I think we socially, we're so like, you have to do certain things by 30, you're supposed to have met the person that you're gonna be with forever, and then you fall in love and you work through the third act breakup, but after that you're good. And I wanted to write this experience of being like, well, kind of what does come next? You know, like I'm happy, but maybe we could work on our communication from time to time. It's an ongoing process. We're honing that craft. And, but yeah, so trying to build the world quickly so that I can focus on the marital dynamics. It's really hard.
I feel like that's about the right. You've just represented perfectly the balance of your books, though.
No.
You were like, so there's an Alphaverse and there's colonialism. Let me talk to you about marriage. It's very hard.
Also, every joke is like, or every line, when you were talking about every sentence doing two things, mine are mostly making jokes. That's mostly what my sentences are for.
My next thing that'll be out is this fall. I'll have a short story collection, and there's 5 new stories in part of that. And so I had a really good time. Again, it's so fun to build worlds on that scale because you get to play with an idea that you had that you're not sure can like hold an entire book, but it can hold a story. So I got to do, my favorite one out of the new ones is like if you know the history of lesbian pulp as an industry, it has a fascinating mid-century American boom where lesbian pulp was the best-selling genre in America in 1955, which is really something. You could buy it at every drugstore. So it's about like the emergence of that genre in publishing history as told between a woman writing it and a woman editing it. In an alternate world where censorship is literal and the words catch fire. And I loved writing that short story.
That's amazing. Oh my God, I can't wait. Why hasn't it been sent to me? Is anyone in the
Good
tour team in the
question.
audience?
Yeah.
I am obviously the person to have read this book. I have weight in this industry.
I don't
Where is it?
We'll see if you get that exclamation.
I don't want to be that guy. Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
I want this.
I know. I also think about the short story Mr. Death like all the time. When you read Mr. Death, if you haven't already for some dumb reason, think about me thinking about it.
So good. My next book is called The God-Free Home for Demonic Children, and it's about a home for children who have demons that can't be exorcised. I
want this too.
Thank you.
Never mind the exclamation point. I'll take this.
I grew up really believing that demonic possession was real, and I thought it was like my biggest fear. Like I couldn't even hear anything about demons in church. I'd have to like plug my ears because I would freak out. And I thought I was over it until I started writing this book, and I've like thoroughly scared myself. Like I have like salt all over my house. I do all the things. I ward my office. Like I don't know. It really freaked me out. But I love that book, and I love the demonically possessed children, and I feel kind of like a mother. I feel like all of the kids are kind of like my cats. Like they're all inspired by my cat babies. So yeah, I had a very fun time with it.
Has there been any challenging about the world building in any of these projects at all?
Yes.
I would say I'm working on a bunch of things that if there are any tour staff in the audience, no, I'm not, that are not like necessarily contracted. And one of the other things I was kind of messing with was how to write something that my kids would like. They're 7 and 9, so I was kind of messing with middle grade and learning how difficult that world building is to do because it has to be wildly efficient, but not feel like you're rushing through anything, and usually be like funny.
Yes, yes.
In order to keep a kid's attention. So I've been like writing some stuff and then reading it to my kids, and their feedback is wildly harsh. But also it's really interesting to learn, like where you can literally read to your kid and see the moments you lose them. And it's like the best writing education I've gotten in a while.
Middle grade tone is truly an art, because it's like, it's sarcasm, but for someone who doesn't have an ear for sarcasm yet. So it's just coming across as humor.
But they want to. They want to be in on the
right.
joke.
They want to be in on the joke. Yeah. That's what it is with middle grade, is that it's a joke, but you're in on it.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. I feel like that's what I'm trying to achieve for adults, but they are so often refusing to be in on it with me.
I hate that.
Is my main problem.
Yeah.
My number one problem.
Yeah, I hate that. I love funny writing, but then I feel like when I try it, it doesn't land like the way I want it to. I need to be funnier. I think I do. I feel like I'm going to steal your answer a little bit. I was trying to write from the perspective of children, which is really hard in Godfrey. So yeah, I think just writing kids in general is totally different, and I've been trying to tap into my inner whimsy to kind of recapture that childhood essence, I guess.
So this is my last question before we move into audience questions. What is one point of world building that you think is important, but many people forget?
No, I'm going to reverse this. I don't think it is important to know about like how the economy of your fantasy world works. I know there's a lot of authors who are like, I'm going to really impress you. I'm going to Game of Thrones this thing. We're going to understand the price of wheat. We're going to understand how these people are surviving or whatever. I don't care. You don't have to do all that, is how I feel about that. When I wrote The Everlasting, I had I was like, I know how night books work. She's on a horse and she's doing a quest.
Yeah, correct.
And then of course, right, I'm done. And then I sent it to my mom, who is God's original horse girl. And she sent me back like 6 actual single-space pages about everything I got wrong about horses. And in particular, the math of carrying 2 people and armor and enough feed for the horse. And she's like, I'm not sure. The grass in northern England doesn't have the calcium levels that would sustain a charger of this size. Now at this time, and she's in too deep. And I was like, I really appreciate this. I don't think it's that kind of book. And I think that can be an answer for a lot of world building. There can absolutely be holes in it if you're aiming for what you're aiming for.
I actually have to send Euphoria ! To your mom. There's a horse in it. But I went to horse camp, so I think I'm bringing something meaningful to the table. I did a panel with, Tomi Adeyemi, and we talked about horses. That was like the panel. Everyone who's a horse girl understands. I forgot the question again. What was it?
Hold on.
It's because I messed up the question. This is what I don't think is important in world building that many people do
I would love
include.
to talk about what I don't think is important.
But it should be what you think is important.
No, I don't want to do that. My agent and I have an agreement that if a book gets sent to me for a blurb and it has the word lush prominent in it, it's not for me. If your book is lush, no. If your book is lush, I don't want it. If your book is lush, it's like describing the trees, and I'm like, there's trees. Like, all of my notes from my editor are always like, where are we? Or like, how did we get here? And it's like, why is that important to you? I am just trying to vibe. I don't care. I did, oh my gosh, an Amazon short story. There's vampires. They live in this like black Victorian, what is that thing called? All Manner of Things Shall Be is the title of that. Feel free to pirate it. And the note was like, can you describe the house? And I was in tears. I was like, I can't. I told you that it was a house and that it was black and Victorian. I don't understand what you want from me. I was like literally crying. So that's my process.
Yeah. So just know that you do still get into heaven if you pirate from Amazon Originals. But that's the only one. That's the only one. But you do.
But if you do pirate it, will you like enjoy it, please? Because the reviews are like, I have like a 2 on this story. And I don't believe
right.
this is a 2 story. I believe that people are not in on the joke. They're vampires. They live in Santa Monica in a black Victorian. That's the story.
What more do you need?
That's the story. Okay.
I'll try to bring this back around. I don't like it when I'm reading a grim, dark fantasy novel and everyone's sweaty and bloody except the woman. I don't like it. I don't like it when they're like, the woman smells like honey and she has no hair on her legs. I'm like, you've been out in the middle of nowhere for like ages. No, she doesn't. And I don't know. I hate that. That makes me so mad.
I think that all characters should at all times have the vibe of Aragorn throwing open the doors.
Absolutely.
And that includes the women.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they had, like, if they're a little bit dirty, that's good, actually. Yeah. If they just spend the whole time just a little bit, like, grimy and sweaty, I'm in. Yeah. Just don't tell me about the trees. I don't care.
The thing I took most away from this as an agent is that if I ever request a blurb, I know exactly how not to describe it.
Yeah. Yes. Anyone who works in the industry, if you send me a book and you call it lush, it's not happening.
Yeah.
It's an automatic delete, sorry.
Yeah, I'm just going to delete it from my vocabulary moving forward. Okay, so into the audience questions. There is a little bit of overlap for what we've spoken about before, but I think these are very specific questions, so I'll try to get through all of them anyway. This one comes from Alexis, probably not Henderson.
It's like, oh, you girl.
You all have built complex worlds with multiple realms, which is quite abstract in our real, sadly non-magical world. Was it difficult to figure out how best to explain your worlds or magic systems, both in your writing and in pitches? Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, it's super hard. I think like querying fantasy is really hard because you're trying to kind of condense. Querying, by the way, is like when you're reaching out to agents to like pitch your work and be like, please represent me and help sell my book to publishers. And when I first tried to write my query letter and condense a whole world into like a paragraph, it was extremely challenging. So yeah, that's basically my answer. I think it's really hard.
Yeah, I think because you're trying, like sometimes the world doesn't capture the tone of book you're trying to do. So I'm always trying to like give my editor a sense of like, this is what the book's about, but that's not how the book's gonna feel necessarily. This is what I'm aiming for. So like when I sent in, I read a really, really, really detailed synopsis. Everlastings was like, I don't know, 15 pages long or something. And I sent it to my editor and I was like, I'm so pumped about this book. And she replied, can we hop on a call? And I was like, uh-oh. We've never hopped on a call before. That doesn't seem great. And it was basically just that like they weren't sure about pivoting from like contemporary, fairly realistic Southern Gothic to like secondary world fantasy. And she, in the middle of the conversation, was like, I'm just not sure do we want the next Alix E Harrow novel to have a sword on it? And that was absolutely a like how you pitch world building kind of a question. And I was like, oh, I don't know about that. Like, you can put whatever you want on the cover. There's going to be a sword in it because I only have one idea at a time. But I think once I sent her the book, it becomes clear like that you're working kind of in your same style, just in a different world.
So I didn't query the Atlas 6 specifically because I knew it would be too hard to explain in a query letter. That it was just like, it's any way I put it, it's gonna sound derivative. Because what I'm telling you is that like 6 people enter a secret society and one of them must die, right? You've heard that pitch before, like you know this concept, but I'm gonna do this thing where like each of the characters is their own horrific, unreliable narrator, and the real story is just in the space in between them for the audience to determine. And that's the kind of thing that like an agent isn't gonna know what to do with, right? Like, well, okay, what can you comp it to? And so the Atlas 6 like is the reason I'm here, and it was a totally lucky, random, weird thing where like the pandemic happened and Book Talk took off, and there was probably no other way that book was gonna move forward except by like enormous scale word of mouth because it was just like too complicated. So I think that I'm gonna come with me here. You know how in like all the best love stories, it's like someone who breaks your rules. It's like, it's someone who's like, that's not what I wanted at all, but it's happening probably because it would have happened anyway. And I think that if your book is really good, it will break all the rules, and people will love it for what it is. So I know this is a hard thing because of querying. Like basically the first book that you query or whatever, it might take you a bunch of tries because you can't really explain who you are as a writer in your first book. And it's also like, I can't really be defined by this one book. And that's what makes the process of being published, traditionally published, very difficult. But you're not just one book, and you're not just one work, and real love will find you. An A!
This one's from Amanda. Actually, one second. In case anybody did want to learn about how to pitch, I'm actually doing a pitch panel a little bit later. Just, yeah, okay. So, thank you. From Amanda, when you start getting ideas for your next book, which develops first for you? Characters, plot, setting, magic system, and do you find that in developing one of these elements, the others will fall into place?
Can I take a guess? I think it's characters. And I think it's setting. And mine is a very specific thesis that I have. An argument that I would like to make within a particular tradition of literature.
It's message first. It's
Yeah,
theme
it is,
first.
it is.
Yeah, and mine is character, but it's because I used to write fan fiction, and character is like the only thing that matters in fan fiction. If you get the character wrong, you can do whatever you want to canon. Canon is like whatever, just like an old dirty rag we threw out. But you have to get the character right.
For me, it's setting because I grew up in Savannah, Georgia, and I thought kind of as a kid that all cities looked like that, and I just fell in love with it. And then I moved, and I just kept writing books that made me feel the way I felt in Savannah. So
Yeah, absolutely. Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil is
I
like
love
the
that
book
one.
that I wish I could write. I'm always like,
Yes.
I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write a Midnight in
Yes.
the Garden of Good and Evil,
Same.
and then like never once.
never happened.
Never
to
has
me.
that ever
You'll
happened.
do it. You'll do it.
Okay.
From Brittany, what is something you wished you knew before writing your first books that you know to incorporate into your writing or writing process now? Do you want me to read that back one more time?
Yeah. Every book is different. People love to ask us, like, how do we write our books? But the process is different every time because it depends on the book. And, like, you might write with the same process a couple times. Like, you'll be most knowledgeable about writing, like, 3-4 books in. And then after that, you'll realize you're a friggin' idiot. And you just did something super irresponsible. And now a bunch of people are acting on advice that you gave that no longer works for you.
Yeah, I think I wish mostly that I wasn't convinced every single book that this would be the time that I figure out the system where I just write it from the beginning to the end and it comes out correct. You know, every single book I'm convinced that like it will be much more efficient, it will be fast, it won't be so painful, I won't cry on the floor at all because I know exactly where I'm headed and my outline this time, even though no outline has ever worked, this time it will. And I just wish that I accepted that the process is that I write the first third, and then I rewrite the first third, and then I write 2/3, and then I rewrite 2/3, and then I write the whole book again.
Remember that time when you were like, how do you write so fast?
Yeah,
And I was like,
I know.
explain your process back to yourself.
I know. I think of it all the time. I was like, because I know my beginning scene and my ending scene, and you get 2/3 of the way through, and you realize that you're not aiming for the correct exact spot for that ending to pull off. And you were like, girl, why don't you change the ending?
Yes, that was my question, which I felt was very valid.
I think of it every time I refuse to change an ending. Thank you.
What if, hear me out, you don't know how the book ends at all? How would that go for you?
It's not possible.
I would tell myself like not to care less, but to care differently. With my first book, I was just like, I just want an A. And I didn't know what an A was, but I just knew that I wanted one. And it wasn't healthy. And so I want to take all of the care that I had for like doing a good job and just put that into like the passion of writing the thing. Like I learned that somewhere along the way, but I wish I'd learned it sooner.
Oh, another thing is that at first you try to do too much.
Yeah.
You're like, at least for me, it was like, what if this is my only chance to say this? What if this is... Publishing, all creative careers, there's an uncertainty and it weighs on you, right? Like you don't really know what the next book is going to be if you're going to get a next book. You don't know how many chances you get. And so sometimes you have to like battle this feeling of like, but what if this is it? And what if I can't say everything I need to say, and you like cut these things and you put them away somewhere and you're like, well, I hope I get to do that again. But I think that part of writing and creating bravely is to just believe that there will be a chance to say it, and theoretically in a better way, that you will be a different and better artist when you get to say that thing. And yeah, but that is the scary thing, isn't it? Publishing is a scary place to work, and to feel like, well, hopefully this isn't the last time I see you.
That's a little bit too real for me. So we've got 3 more questions and 6 minutes. So I guess
speed
right?
round.
Yeah,
got it.
Right. From Patrick, are there any other genres you've thought about exploring or writing in before that might surprise us?
I just do whatever I want.
I've thought about one day I'm gonna write historical romance. I am.
Yes,
I am.
We're all gonna die.
Because that is the genre that I spend 90% of my time reading right now. Problematic historical romance paperbacks from the early 2000s. Unmatched.
I really want to write a monster romance that's actually scary. Like, that's really, really monstrous. I want to be more scared when I'm reading monster romance. And I feel like maybe I could do it, but I don't know. Maybe under a pen name. I don't know.
You can do it. You absolutely can do it. Yes.
I want to do it.
Yes.
Maybe like Krampus? That's probably been done already. But
Not how you would do it.
I feel like I just outed myself for having a crush on Krampus. I'm just going to move on.
Who doesn't? Am I right? Okay. Next question.
This one, yeah, 4 minutes now. That's okay, 2 minutes each. Rachel, are there any times where you felt like you needed to pull back? Rachel is writing their first dark fantasy book, and there are times when they've wondered if they're being too intense, especially when sometimes they hear that heroines shouldn't be too angry or too morbid. I have opinions.
Roll. That is not a question. That's not a real question. That's not real feedback. That's no. Don't do less, do more.
Yeah. Whatever you are feeling like, have I gone too far? You can
Keep
usually
going.
go the other
Yeah,
direction.
keep going.
And the voice you were hearing in your head is like 2010s Twitter. It is like
Absolutely.
Goodreads girl.
It's not real.
It
It's
is
not real.
nonsense. Those people aren't real and they can't hurt you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I think it's like always do more. And I feel like the books that people are really super passionate about do that. You know, I noticed that. Like, people love to read weird books by weird people. That's what I've learned the longer I'm in this industry. And I think that being weird and not being scared to do that is like the best thing that you can do as an author. Also, it's just fun. It's really fun.
Yeah, and the feeling of have I gone too far is a good sign that like you've hit the sweet spot actually. That if you're sitting back and being like, whoa, did I just do that? That's good.
So to my clients in the audience, when I tell you, make it more unhinged. Okay. Let's see. The last question from the audience, from Ashley. What is the thing you are most proud of in your career so far?
That I'm still sitting here. I'm like just happy to be in the room. Like, yeah.
No, I think that's about right. And I think the thing that surprised me the most being published is that I'm sorry, but I don't know that I thought of authors as like people that you could know or meet. And I think getting to make connections with other people who do your same kind of art is like, that's the most exciting part of it. Because like the industry stuff, you're not in control of. The reviews, you're not in control of. And so, but like the connections you make with readers and with writers, and to get to like be here and do this kind of thing, that's the most exciting part of it.
I wish we were ending on that answer. I'm just gonna say that, so my husband is a physics teacher, and he was like, at some point, you know, he was like, you know, I like your work, but I would really like it if you could write something that would bring girls into science. Like, because his first year teaching physics, he was like, there's these young women in my classroom who like tell themselves that they can't do it, like they believe that they can't. And I understood what he was talking about. I felt like I was shown the exit doors from STEM fields. When I was younger, it was just like, oh, okay, I guess I'm just like an English and history girly, whatever. So I wrote My Mechanical Romance, which was designed to make science romantic, that it was like, oh, the quarterback guy can be actually on the robotics team. And it's, yeah. And then I wrote the Atlas 6 to make science sexy. And since I wrote the Atlas 6, many young women have reached out to me to say, I had never considered physics before, and now I am majoring in astronomy, or I am an engineer. And like, I didn't really care about that, right? Like, no, I'm just kidding. But I did win my marriage. He said, can you bring women into science? And I said, hold my beer.
All right, that's it. We've got 1 minute to the hour, so I'm not gonna lie, I feel pretty good about my whole keeping it on time job.
Yeah, you did it. You nailed it.
Amazing. Thank you.
So to wrap up, first, I want to thank each of you. This has been so phenomenal. I will probably still go have a panic attack next, but I've been so honored to be here to speak to all of you. And thank you to all of you. You all have been absolutely incredible. Great listening, folks. Was that a cheering thing in the back? Okay.
Yeah, that was for you. That was extra.
Okay.
Yeah, in the next room, they were like, damn, that was so well moderated.
I'm fully sitting here thinking that I'm having hallucinations before my panic attack. So thank you all. I think that's bringing us to the close of today's Penning the Perfect Atmosphere. I would like everyone to know that author autographs, author signings are happening in halls 1A to 1B. Olivie Blake, where you will require a reservation, is going to be at table 4. And Alexis and Alix will both be at table 25.
What? No, move me. No, I'm going to be with them.
I mean,
There's room.
I am not in charge
There will
of that.
be a gone fishing sign on table 4.
I am not in charge of that, but if somebody here is...
No.
I'm upset.
Okay.
Thank you for your
Thanks,
wonderful
everyone.
moderating. And thank all of
you
you.
very much. Thank you, audience.
That's right, BookCon. Give it up for them one more time.